Time having arrived, I call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Brockton City Council's Finance Committee to order. Will you all please join in standing and saluting the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilors, if you would all join me in just a brief moment of silence. This last week we lost Roberta Hook, the mother of our BEMA director, Steve Hook. So if we just take a moment. May she rest in peace. Thank you. Councilors, before the start of our regularly scheduled programming today, we have the promotion of 2 members of the Brockton Police Department and the swearing in of a new officer. So we're going to start that right now by calling up the mayor for any comment, and Lieutenant Adam Reese and Sergeant Brian Donahue. Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the department.
On behalf of everybody, I believe. Thank you, Mr. President, or Mr. Chairman, members of the City Council. It's an honor to be here as we look forward in bringing these 2 fine gentlemen into the core of their next levels, in a sense. The Sergeant Donahue and the Lieutenant Reese are great additions to their ranks within the police department. And of course, the young man, Officer Miranda, who will also be sworn in here today. So it gives me a great deal of honor and pride to basically present these fine gentlemen to you. And I appreciate your support as we move forward with this. Again, congratulations, gentlemen, and please be safe out there and continue to do the work that you can for the folks and the residents of the city of Brockton. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Madam Clerk, would you issue the oath?
I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and will support the Constitution therefor. So help me God. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially
That I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
all
the duties incumbent upon me
the duties incumbent upon me
as a sergeant and lieutenant
as a sergeant,
according to the best of my ability
according to the best of my ability
and understanding,
and understanding,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of the Commonwealth
of the Commonwealth
and the ordinances
and the ordinances
of the city of Brockton.
of the city of Brockton.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name.
I, Adam Donahue,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now, if you would please come up and sign the oath book. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we'll swear in our newest officer, Officer Rafael Miranda. Madam Clerk.
Good evening. Please repeat after me. And raise your hand. I state your name,
I, Rafael Miranda,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
and I will support the Constitution thereof,
and I will support the Constitution thereof,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I state your name,
I, Rafael Miranda,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
and perform all the duties
and perform all the duties
incumbent upon me
incumbent upon me
as an officer,
as an officer,
according to the best of my ability
according to the best of my abilities
and understanding,
and understanding,
agreeably to the rules
agreeably to the rules
and regulations
and regulations
of the Commonwealth
of the Commonwealth
and the ordinances
and the ordinances
of the City of Brockton.
of the City of Brockton.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name,
I, Rafael Miranda,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Congratulations.
Councilors, I'm going to call a brief recess.
Zip code determines your life expectancy. Black and brown communities, which Brockton is one, has a lot of polluting facilities, not a lot of green space, not a lot of trees, a lot of health burdens. And so when I'm talking about environmental justice in my job, I'm constantly talking about the health concerns and impacts to environmental justice populations. I'd be thrilled to be on this commission and look forward to answering any questions that you may have.
Councilors? Councilor Castro.
Good evening, Mrs. Simpson.
Good evening.
See you.
You too.
So, what do you hope to accomplish?
Ms. Simpson, you can sit down if you
Okay.
want.
I guess shine a light on the importance of health and the impacts that facilities have on communities, especially Black and brown communities. I don't think people fully understand not having a lot of trees, not having food security, not having green space, open space. It does impact your health. And, you know, I work a lot with the Department of Public Health in Boston, and they have this great tool that I use often every time I do community engagement, and I look at a community profile. I look at Brockton because I live in Brockton, and, you know, we have some sick individuals in Massachusetts, in Brockton, that people need to know that you just can't keep putting facilities and things in communities that are already overburdened, that are disproportionately overburdened, and that don't have a voice. So I would love to be a part of this commission and give a voice to those who don't have a voice, give people a seat at the table. I'm constantly doing that in my full-time job now, just making sure that people understand, putting things in plain language, translating documents, making sure people understand, talking to people, not talking at people, inviting people to talk about what their concerns are, not just me and my role, you know, telling people what I think they want to hear, listening to their voices and bringing those back to the commission.
Well, I'm grateful for your willingness to serve, and I love your enthusiasm. Best of luck to you. I will support this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors?
Motion to recommend favorably.
Motion has been made and properly seconded to recommend favorably to the full city council. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Item number 2, appointment of Dora Green of 84 Melbourne Road, Brockton, Massachusetts, to the Advisory Council on Health for a 3-year term ending in June 2029. Invited Dora Green.
Good evening, Ms. Green.
Good evening. How are you all?
How are you?
So like the young woman before me, I am really excited and interested in becoming a part of this council. I've spent the last 12 years or so dedicating my work to focus on health equity initiatives, which is essentially making sure that people in communities that are experiencing unmet need are able to achieve those nuanced things that allow them to have the most, able to attain optimal outcomes of health. And what does that look like, right? Thinking outside of the box, thinking outside of health fairs, how to engage the community, partnerships. That's been my work across several different sectors in the healthcare ecosystem. That includes nonprofit, hospital, in pharma. And one of the things that I have done, especially in global pharma, is engaging communities that are extremely diverse, like Brockton. And I would love the opportunity to bring that expertise, enthusiasm, and the ability to think innovatively on how not only do we bring those partnerships or programs here, but also engage the community, engage the next generation in doing work or working alongside pharma so that we have that opportunity to just expand what Brockton is capable of.
Councilors? Councilor Castro.
Good evening. Nice
Good
to see
evening.
you, Ms. Green. So this is my question, and I warned you.
Yes, you did.
I loved reading your resume. I read everyone's resumes. But you had an interesting, one of many interesting items. You won an award for Digestive Disease Week Equity Investment.
Yes.
Give me a brief explanation of what that is.
I will try and give you a quick and dirty of it. So while I was at working as the head of health equity at a pharmaceutical company, all the work collectively that we did investing in partnerships with patient advocacy organizations, specifically those that are addressing the long odyssey of diagnosis for the Black community in GI diseases. All of that work collectively and making sure that we were not overburdening these nonprofit organizations got high recognition, including that award of from the Digestive Disease Week.
Well, it sounds so interesting, and I appreciate your willingness to serve the city, and thank you for answering my question. I will support this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselors, Counselor Green.
Ms. Green, no relation.
Mr. Green.
Wait a minute.
I'm really excited by your nomination, and the same for Ms. Simpson as well. Let me say thank you to you both, and thank you for your willingness to serve and to give back to the other city. And I'm really looking forward to the advisory council, really gleaning from your perspective, your experience, and the expertise that you bring to the table, and same for Ms. Simpson as well. And one of the things that I'm really looking forward to, and if you have some thoughts that you'd like to share, I would love to hear them. If not now, perhaps at a later date. And that is, so in your case specifically, and your experience working in pharma, and kind of translating that partnership and that relationship between pharma and the city or municipalities in general, how can we translate that in programs and initiatives that really help to shape and transform the lives of people within the community? I think establishing that partnership is critical for a number of things. One, to improve the overall health of the members within the community, and specifically, as you've alluded to, Black and brown communities. And secondly, I think that partnership is critical for our economic development, and really taking advantage of the social responsibility among the corporate sector. So I look forward to those experiences and that expertise and translating into some useful and actionable items within the community. So thank you again. I appreciate your service and your willingness to serve.
Thank you, Counselor.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Motion to recommend favorably to the full city.
Motion's been properly made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is the last time I'm going to ask. Turn your mics on.
Item number 3, we have the appointment of Dr. Sasha Gittens of 488 Quincy Ave, Quincy, Massachusetts, to the Advisory Council on Health for a 2-year term ending in June 2028. Invited, Dr. Sasha Gittens.
Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening.
Have anything you'd like to say to the council?
Sure. So I am Dr. Sasha Gittens. I have been working and serving the Brockton community since 2017 as a primary care physician at the Brockton Neighborhood Health Center. Throughout my tenure there, I have been through a few roles. My most recent role is now the chief of the adult medicine department at the Brockton Neighborhood Health Center. And I do believe that my clinical insight, leadership experience, and just serving the Brockton community over the last few years positions me to make a valuable contribution to the Advisory Council on Health. And I thank you and look forward to the opportunity to do so.
Thank you. Councilors? There a motion?
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, Doctor.
Item number 4. The appointment of Albert Whitaker of 275 Spring Street, Brockton, Massachusetts, to the Advisory Council on Health for a 2-year term ending in June 2028. Invited, Albert Whitaker.
Good evening, Mr. Whitaker.
Good evening.
Anything you'd like to say to the council?
Yes, first of all, to thank you for this opportunity to present and just share why this is so important to me. I've been a resident of Brockton now for about 11 years, and I've really grown to love this city. My background, it has been in public health for the last 30 some odd years. So I worked both with the American Diabetes Association and most recently with the American Heart Association, doing work around community impact and really looking at sustainable, in programs or initiatives that are sustainable first and foremost, but also policies that can be changed. So we're really looking at what really impacts health. It's not just someone having a condition, but what are some of the social environments, the social determinants that influence that? Access to transportation or lack thereof to be able to get to a doctor's appointment. I heard earlier around green spaces and opportunities to be able to indulge in physical activity and participate in physical activity. So these things are really very important to me. And I see that this is a need in the city of Brockton. And then lastly, I am very much, and have been working for quite a while, building what is called clinical community linkages. So in actuality, bringing the clinic, if you will, or bringing the medical field right into the community where the people are, so that there is that access to healthcare. For example, having a program, a food pantry, where there's blood pressure monitors that are being offered so that when people are picking up their food, they can actually get their blood pressure checked. And if it's elevated, they are directly referred to care right then and there. So that's that clinical community linkage that I was referring to. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilors?
Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Whitaker.
Thank you.
Item number 5, appointment of Dr. Han No of 7 Powder House Road, Dover, Massachusetts, to the Advisory Council on Health for a 1-year term ending in June 2027.
Good evening, doctor.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me to this. I'm just going to spend 1 minute. I was built for this. So I was born in Vietnam, and I'm an immigrant. Fled the country after the Vietnam War. Didn't speak English. Didn't have any money. Grew up on food stamps, learned a language. Eventually, I became a doctor. And after my medical education and training, this was the first job I got at Brockton Hospital. 22 years later, lots of hours in the ER, chairman of the emergency department through the pandemic, and then the chief medical officer of Brockton Hospital. I've spent 22 of my professional years in this city. I feel like it's a second home to me, and obviously my goal is to improve the health of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. Councilors, any questions? Any motions?
Motion to recommend favorably. Second.
Motion is properly made and seconded. All in favor? Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank
No.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Doctor.
you.
Item number 6, the appointment of Charita Bing of 22 Troy Street, Brockton, Massachusetts, to the Advisory Council on Health for a 1-year term ending in June 2027. Invited, Charita Bing.
Good evening, Ms. Bing.
How are you?
Anything you want to say to the council?
I just wanted to thank you for the consideration. I've been working in human service for about 15 years now. I started in banking, to me was a promising career until I got tired of seeing families lose their homes or lose a partner and not able to an illness, but not able to maintain life with their children. Working from the prominent area of Wellesley to come into Boston and working downtown and seeing homelessness, sickness, illness. I just thought that this wasn't the world for me. And as Mr. Green said, I felt like I had a social responsibility to do more than provide loans or secure mortgages, accounts. There are families that were in desperate need, some with food insecurity, some with health insecurity, some with this insecurity with money. So that's why this appointment to me, it's close to my heart. Providing services for elderly. I used to be a caregiver with my mom, with my grandparents. They passed away. My grandmother wasn't fully competent of things that were said to her during her medical visits because someone wasn't with her. She didn't understand, and we didn't understand that until we became older. So that's where I feel the need for health advisory comes in with the city of Brockton. There's a lot of people out here that go to these appointments, go to these services, and don't completely understand what's going on. So that's my commitment to the council, to bring some insight as to what I've gone through personally and help the city of Brockton to do more. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilors?
Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 7, appointment of Karina Herrera of 56 River Street, Brockton, Massachusetts, to the Advisory Council on Health for a 1-year term ending in June 2028. Invited Karina Herrera.
Good evening, Ms. Herrera.
Good evening. Thank you for the invitation. A little bit about myself. Originally from New York, I completed an enlistment in the United States Army Reserve. I did my undergrad in criminal justice before transitioning to a career in education. I've been a health teacher for the last 4 years. I'm now going to transfer into becoming a science teacher. I'll echo a lot of the sentiments of past candidates, special interest in accessibility to healthy options in the city, environmental issues that directly impact our community, health initiatives that will directly impact youth involvement and their well-being overall. So I won't, stress too much about that, but I know that with a health-minded group of people, I think we can make big changes in the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion
Councilor?
to recommend favorably back to the full city council.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded. On the motion, Councilor Green.
Ms. Herrera, thank you for moving from New York to the great city of champions, Brockton. Thank you. And thank you for your willingness to serve and to contribute to our city. You just indicated that one of your goals in serving in this is to kind of bring great ideas to Brockton and to improve our overall city. And I think that's important. For all the candidates along with your self, I am hoping and very optimistic that this city and certainly this council can benefit from your wisdom, your expertise, and all the experiences that you bring to the table. Public health is critical. It affects all of us, from our little babies all the way up to our seniors. It is important work. And we're going to rely on you to really help to inform many of the other policies or even on legislation that may come through this community, this council, relative to the public health. So I'm looking forward again to the great work that I believe that this advisory council will do for the city. Please come back to the council and update us on the incredible work that you're doing and important initiatives that will be implemented through your work. So again, thank you, and thank you all for your willingness to contribute to our city.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. There's a motion properly made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Congratulations. Thank you for your service. Congratulations. You're in good hands with Dr. McCullough. Madam Clerk.
Item number 8, whereas the city has encountered issues with internal financial controls resulting in audits by outside government organizations, and whereas the recent report from the Office of the Inspector General relating to the schools department deficit and the continued review of city
Mr.
finances.
Chairman,
Councilor Farwell.
I'd like to move that we waive reading, and I'm going to make a motion to table this, if that's approved. So motion to waive the further reading.
We'll do it as one motion if you don't mind, Councilor.
All right. And councilors, there have been several issues that have arisen in the schools. And in addition, I do not believe there is sufficient time left in the legislative session for the Great and General Court to approve a home rule petition of this nature. So I'm going to move to table this measure. And if we need to do something next January, when there's a new state legislature sworn in, we can do it. So motion to table.
Second.
Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded to table this matter. All in favor of tabling? All opposed? The matter is tabled.
Item number 9, wherefore the Boys and Girls Club raised millions of dollars to construct new facilities in Brockton on land at Eldon B. Keith Field. The land needed by the club was purchased from the city with approval by the city council. An easement to allow entry into their land from West Elm Street is needed, but for almost 2 years, the school committee has refused to grant approval. Meanwhile, as time passes, the cost of construction increases for the club. If approved, this petition will allow the mayor to proceed with the planning and design for a suitable easement notwithstanding state law, which allows the school committee to control the land. Therefore, be it ordered by the City Council of the City of Brockton to adopt a home rule petition as follows. Ordered, that the following petition be approved and submitted to the Great and General Court for approval under Clause 1 of Section 8 of Article 2 as amended of the amendments to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and to the end that legislation be adopted precisely as follows, except for clerical or editorial changes of form only. An act authorizing the mayor of the City of Brockton and the Brockton City Council to grant an easement over land known as Eldon B. Keith Field.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilor Farwell.
if this is the one that I filed, then I'd ask that we waive further reading. And for the same reasons I mentioned with the prior home rule petition, I don't believe there's sufficient time left in the legislative session. So I would move to table this one.
There's a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, motion's been properly made and seconded. All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Motion passes. The matter is tabled.
Item number 10, order that the following petition be approved and submitted to the Great and General Court for approval under Clause 1 of Section 8 of Article 2 as amended of the amendments to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and to the end.
Madam Clerk, you can give a summary if you want, seeing as we've done this 3 times.
This one's another one relating to Keith Field. This one has more specific language as to the easement location. And that's kind of really it.
All right, thank you. Councilor Thompson, I believe you were the sponsor of this?
That's correct. So, councilors, we have with us both our city solicitor and counsel for the Boys and Girls Club. I'll let them speak in a minute on this particular home rule petition, but I did hand out some modified language of this petition, and after our guests speak, I'd be seeking a motion to amend the language in this home rule petition to reflect the language that was recently handed out.
I'll return the floor to you after they speak.
Thank you.
Councilor. Good evening, Mr. Solicitor. Good evening, Councilor.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the City Council. I am here with Anthony Savastano. He's counsel for the Boys and Girls Club. And although we're addressing the special act, we are here on 2 matters before the council. One is the special act and 2 is the easement. And I'll address the special act first. The proposed special act that's here was worked on collaborated among Attorney Savastano and Pete Mello, Attorney Peter Mello, who's counsel for the school committee. And upon the state legislature's approval, this would authorize the city's conveyance of the proposed easement. You'll see in the language of the proposed act, it's to apply notwithstanding any general or special law to the contrary. And this is another added benefit to the special act because its adoption would substantively protect the contemplated conveyance transaction from any future legal claims alleging statutory or other violations. Also, the special act would authorize the school committee to relinquish control over the easement area pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 15A, which I believe happened in their vote back in June. So that's with respect to the special act, and myself or Attorney Savastano can answer any questions regarding that. The second item I know is the easement, and we would just ask for the council to approve the easement document to authorize the mayor to execute on behalf of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Thompson? Oh, I'm sorry. Attorney Savastano, did you have anything to add? I didn't want to cut you off.
No, only I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Counselor Thompson?
Thank you, and good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for being before us this evening. I think the summary of the city solicitor was pretty clear. This is basically to amend our current special act, which governs Keith Field, to have it more in line with what the city is seeking to do with that field, namely convey a portion of it for the use of the new Boys and Girls Club. So this basically puts everything in line, making sure that it's done smoothly and properly. And so as stated, the school committee did vote on this matter a few weeks ago. And so we're just trying to get both sides lined up to make sure that the language matches the intent. And so with that said, I would seek to amend the special act to in align with the language that I previously passed out.
I'll read the amendment into the record if you don't mind, councilors. Section 1, notwithstanding Section 1 of Chapter 99 of the Acts of 1920, the school committee of the city of Brockton shall have the authority to declare as surplus pursuant to the provisions of 15A of Chapter 40 of the general laws the following land. A, that portion of the athletic field as described in said Section 1 that is shown on Lot 1 on the approval not required plan entitled Plan of Land Eldon Keith Field, Brockton, MA, prepared by Beals and Thomas for the Boys and Girls Club of Metro South, Inc., last dated May 29, 2026, and recorded in the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds and Plan Book 69 at page 978, and B, that portion of said athletic field shown as the access and utility easement on the plan entitled Access and Utility Easement, prepared by Kenneth Conte and dated May 15, 2026, as further described in the document entitled Meets and Bounds Description, Access and Utility Easement, the access and utility easement area. Section 2, notwithstanding Section 1, the city council of said city pursuant to said 15A may transfer the care and custody, management, and control of said Lot 1 for any lawful municipal purpose, including without limitation, in order to sell, convey, or otherwise dispose of the same. Section 3, notwithstanding said Section 1 or any other special or general laws to the contrary, said city council may sell, convey, or otherwise dispose of an access and utility easement over said access and utility easement area. Section 4, this act shall take effect upon acceptance.
All right. Counselors, we have a motion properly made and seconded. All in favor of the amendment? The amendment is approved. Thank you very much. Counselors, do we have a motion for?
Motion to recommend favorably to the full city council as amended.
Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded as amended. All in favor? All opposed? The amended order is recommended favorably. Thank you, Attorney. Thank you, Mr. Solicitor.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Oh, gentlemen, item number 11 as well. Sorry, we'll hold on here. Just kidding. Madam Clerk.
Item number 11, ordered that the city of Brockton grants the Boys and Girls Club of Metro South an access and utility easement over and under city land owned, known as Eldon Keith Field, located at the southerly side of West Elm Street, recorded in Plymouth County Registry of Deeds in Book 1815, page 1973, for approximately 1,541 square feet, more or less, as described over or under the identified parcels as more particularly described in the proposed access and utility easement attached with this order, and further that the city council authorizes the mayor to execute the attached access and utility easement to take other actions necessary to carry out the terms and purposes and conditions of the same. Councilors, this is just an order that allows the mayor to execute the easement agreement, which will eventually get recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Thank you. Councilor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, the previous special act was to allow for essentially the granting of the easement and the conveyance of that land. This is the actual easement itself. Part of the package that was sent to our houses also include the map and the meets and bounds of the proposed easement. So this is finally the culmination of multi-years of work to allow access from West Elm to the Boys and Girls Club proposed building. And so this will just grant the mayor the authority to execute said easement. So I make a motion to recommend it favorably.
Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Item number 12, order that the City of Brockton grants to Massachusetts Electric Company an easement over, across, and under city-owned land identified as 9 Cinder Road, Pembroke, Massachusetts, to provide certain limited access through, over, across, or under the identified parcel, as more particularly described in a proposed easement attached to this order. The City Council authorizes the mayor to execute the attached easement and to take other actions as necessary to carry out the terms, purposes, and conditions of the same. Invited Mayor Moses Rodriguez and/or his designees. City Solicitor James O'Brien.
Good evening again. Before you is a grant of an easement from the City of Brockton to National Grid for an underground electric distribution system serving the city's water supply facility at 9 Cinder Road in Pembroke. This easement is perpetual, and National Grid will handle all maintenance and restoration at its own expense. And at this point, I would just respectfully move the City Council approve the easement and authorize the mayor to execute the document on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Councilors?
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
Item number 13, ordered transfer of the administration of the Bar Foundation Transportation Manager Grant Funds in the amount of $175,000 from DPW Commissioner to Planning and Economic Development. Invited DPW Commissioner Patrick Hill, CFO Troy Clarkson.
Good evening, councilors.
Good evening, Mr. Commissioner. Good evening, Mr. CFO.
Good evening. I believe we were in council chambers with this grant award some time ago, 6 months ago. I think at the time, the idea behind putting a planner in DPW was because of the, I guess, ongoing issues that the planning department was having with their staff. And we have a very large project coming up within DPW with the RAISE grant. And we were going to take on this person and assign them to the RAISE grant to kind of run that project for the planning office. But since that time, things have changed, and the planner will be answering, or the planner will be going to the planning department.
Mr. Chairman, just to follow on with what the commissioner said, I think part of the reason for that thinking from the mayor was that the actual, I'm going to read to you the award from the Bar Foundation. It says primarily the city will hire a new assistant planner for transportation and infrastructure to be under the direction of the Director of Planning and Economic Development. So as the specific language of the grant award became known, it was clear that it was the intent of the Bar Foundation to have this position part of the planning department, which is why we're requesting this change tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Farwell.
Gentlemen, the letter from the mayor submitted on June 16, 2026 indicates that the Bar Foundation grants will fund a transportation manager, not a planner. It says, quote, the order will shift the administration of funds awarded to the city by the Bar Foundation to the Office of Planning and Economic Development to fund a transportation manager position within the department. You wouldn't be managing transportation. That's my first concern, Council. Another concern I have is that the Planning and Economic Development Department is in a constant flux of dysfunction, dissension. We've lost one employee. We have 2 others that will leave if they have an opportunity. We have a situation recently where the Conservation Commission was accused of not having a quorum and starting a meeting, when in fact it was the interim department head's responsibility to start the meeting, and people were being thrown under the bus, so to speak. And honestly, in good conscience, I can't see sending this function. I think at some point it should go to plan, because if that's what the grant said, fine. But at this point, put this responsibility in a department without a permanent department head, which has major issues, I just don't think it's in the best interest of the residents. And after all, we're here to try to make decisions that are in the best interest of the residents. It's their planning and economic development department. It's their grant that came in. So if it's for a transportation planner, that was not made clear, and if it's going to that office now, I just can't see it. I'll make the same comment when the next issue comes up for planning and economic development, but thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Thompson, do you have something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And just quickly, how many years of employment does this $175,000 get us?
3 years.
That was my only question.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Charnel.
So I'm just a little confused. So if the grant says that this should be housed in the planning department, then what else choice do we have?
I would say that, and I don't want to speak for the CFO or the grant writers, but I believe there was a conversation with the Bar Foundation, and they were very specific that this grant needed to be awarded to the planning department, and they did not feel as though the Department of Public Works was an adequate choice as an alternative.
I'll echo what the commissioner just said, that my team did have some conversations with representatives of the Bar Foundation, and the language of the grant that I read to was pretty clear.
And just one other question. So are there, in your wisdom, Mr. CFO and Mr. Commissioner, are there any other places where within the city that this could live? Could it live in the BRA? Could it live in, I'm just asking a question. So other than the planning department.
I mean, I think we could certainly have some conversations with the Bar Foundation about that, but again, the language was pretty clear, and that does not in any way mean that I'm being dismissive of the comments raised by Councilor Farwell, but I think the challenges in that department and the acceptance of this grant, although parallel, are two separate issues.
It just one last question. So I'm assuming that, again, the head of the department's not here, but I'm assuming that the work that's going to be done in what the grant was written, I wasn't here when it was accepted, I don't think. I'm assuming that the work for this particular grant is specific to a specific thing that the Bar Foundation would like to see done in the city. It's just an assumption.
It's relative to transportation planning.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Azak, followed by Counselor Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, gentlemen. So is there already somebody that's in mind for this position? Like, who is this person already in place, or no?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay.
No, I don't believe that the position has been posted or any.
Okay, the other question is, with this being a grant, if for whatever reason it's not approved, we risk losing it, correct?
I would say yes.
And is there a match, or is it a no match grant?
I don't believe there was a match in this grant.
We can double check that, but I believe the commissioner is correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Green, followed by Counselor Castro.
Thank you. Actually, two of my questions just got answered. So you'll confirm whether there is a match or not. To the first point raised by Councilor Farrell regarding planner versus manager, what's the role? Is it a planner or is it a manager?
My understanding is it was a transportation planner. I really don't know what the difference between a transportation planner versus a transportation manager would be. Certainly, we could look into that, but my understanding is always it's been for a planner.
Okay, okay, all right. All right. And to your knowledge, it's not, the position is not posted yet? That's something to happen at some later?
To my knowledge, hasn't been posted, no.
Okay, all right, all right. Well, transportation is critical to us. I'm on the Transportation Commission. There's a lot of work that we need to do, and if we can figure out a way to kind of address some of the concerns in planning, I think that would serve us well. But I certainly don't want us to be in a position where we have to, or we are turning away kind of funding and opportunities to render services to our city. So that is an important point to kind of keep in mind. And I know that's not under your purview, Mr. Commissioner, but I hope we can figure out a way to address some of those concerns. But I do support this opportunity to have this position in place to render that service to us. So thank you. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Castro.
Good evening, gentlemen. We were not provided with backup information on this Bar Foundation grant with the filing that was made for this order. So I wrote to you yesterday, Commissioner Hill, seeking it. Never heard from you, or haven't heard from you yet. I also wrote to the clerk's office, and I was able to obtain today the information filed with us last November. We ultimately approved this in December. I didn't have it at my fingertips. So I read the whole thing today, and I just made a quick peruse of it because you've both specifically said that this position has to work under a planner. But can you tell me where it says that here? Because I see where it says output, hire an assistant planner for transportation, but I don't see where it says that person has to work for the planning department. I don't see that at all. And I also see the purpose of the grant is to support staff capacity to implement multimodal transportation projects. But I don't see where it says that's where it has to be. Can you just tell me where that is on here?
I don't believe it's in those documents, Counselor. The Bar Foundation, in a conversation that we had with the grant writers when we were talking about the reimbursement side of things and how that was going to work, after they looked at our documentation, they said that the transportation planner should be in accordance with their grant award in the transportation department.
We don't have a transportation department.
Counselor,
the planning department, I apologize.
The document I read from was something I found in my email this evening and screenshotted and saved to my photos, so I'll try to find it. Again, I can, although this is informal, I can certainly text you or email all of you right now from here that screenshot while I look for the full document.
Okay, well, I'm disappointed we didn't receive this backup information and I had to go looking for it myself. And I would suspect that not all of my colleagues have this. And that's very unfortunate. I also question the wisdom of placing this person with this grant underwriting in the planning department at this time, because I am very aware of the flux that it is experiencing, and I don't know if that's the best thing right now. So I'm not sure how I'm going to vote on this. And the same with the next one that's coming up, which I did not receive any information on, Mass Save Municipal Energy Manager Grant, but I guess we'll save that for the next item. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselors, if there's no one else, Counselor Farwell, do you have a follow-up?
Just a follow-up to Commissioner Hill and CFO. have an objection, or would you look favorably upon having this postponed a month? We'll meet in August for FinCom. Have you go back to the Bar Foundation and ask them if the work is done consistent with the grant documents, which I would think would be the controlling mechanism for the acceptance and award of any grant. Do they have an objection to this not being in the Planning and Economic Development Department? Because the other issue is transportation planning. If you really wanted to get the most bang for the buck, you'd probably take the money and try to have someone assign and work at the Old Colony Planning Council. That's where all the transportation planning goes. That's where they do the road safety work. That's where they have the traffic improvement program that they coordinate with the state. So if we're really trying to enhance transportation services, why not go to an agency that already specializes in that, and that person could focus on Brockton? But getting back to my original question, any objection to having this go over to August while you talk to the Bar Foundation and ask them to furnish us with a letter as to, yes, we insist on it going to planning, or no, we will be happy with the work done by the city as long as it comports with the grant document?
And just as a point of information, the Finance Committee meeting for the month of August is August 17th.
No, I mean, I think that's fair, Counselor. I think it'll give us an opportunity to talk with the Bar Foundation to get a little bit of clarity as to where and what they would accept based on the application that we provided to them. So I would encourage.
So, Councilors, I'm going to move that we postpone this to the August 17th Finance Committee meeting.
Second.
Second.
Motion to postpone is properly made and seconded. All in favor of postponing? All opposed? Matters postponed.
Item number 14, order the transfer of the administration of the Mass Save Municipal Energy Manager Grant Funds in the amount of $360,000 from DPW Commissioner to Planning and Economic Development. Invited DPW Commissioner Patrick Hill and CFO Dr. Troy Clarkson.
Good evening, Commissioner. Good evening, Mr. CFO.
Just a quick note and a point of information on the previous item. I did just find the project description from the Bar Foundation, and I emailed it to all of you.
Thank you. Anything for this one?
No, I mean, this is another grant that was before you, I believe, in July, a grant that we received from National Grid. We were one of 2 communities in the Commonwealth to receive funding for an energy manager. At the time, the position was housed in DPW. I had applied for the grant originally, and we were successful. We hired an energy manager. A few months after that, Dr. Eliza Wilson took the role. That role was shifted over to Planning and Economic Development. I believe at this point she has vacated that position and they're currently in the process, I believe, of hiring another energy manager. Either way, the funding, the grant funding for this position no longer sits with DPW, and I was just trying to make sure that it was housed in the right place for the purposes of managing and keeping track and reporting.
Thank you. Councilor Farwell.
Gentlemen, this one is a little different. I'm going to start off by saying that process, procedures, professional courtesy to me are important. And by the way, what I'm saying is not targeted at either of you, because you're not the decision maker. The person has already been hired in the Department of Planning and Economic Development for this position. The position paid between $85,000 and $100,000. According to the job posting for the city, it's full union benefits. So it really doesn't matter what we think. It really doesn't matter that we haven't transferred the money formally to the Department of Planning and Economic Development. You just do what you want. And then you go to the council and you say, gee, would you approve this for me? And look, I don't care at my age, but when you do that, it's a slap in the face to the residents. They send us here to analyze issues. They send us here to vote on process and procedure. And when you just charge ahead and do what you want, and then come into us and say, oh, by the way, can you approve this? When you've already hired the person, they started work today. And she may be very well qualified. I don't have a copy of the resume, but disappointing. I'm just going to leave it at that, disappointing. Relationships matter in politics and government. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselors, do I have a motion?
Motion to recommend favorably. Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded. All
Motion.
on the motion, Counselor Nacastro.
Thank you. Again, I have no backup information on this one at all. I did seek it from you, Commissioner. I have not received it yet. I didn't receive it yet from the clerk's office either. So I don't know what it is that I'm, moving. I don't know whether that's consistent with the grant information. I just don't know. It's very hard to vote on something with so little information. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. On the motion, Counselor Charnel?
Yeah, on the motion. So this was a role that was already in place prior to this legislative session, I'm assuming, right?
The past legislative session.
The past legislative.
Yep.
So the money, the grant money that was applied for, then approved, was granted by that council to accept, I'm assuming.
It was.
So at that time, was there documents given and talked about like what the grant represented and?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So all we're doing is shifting money from, like we often do, shifting money from where one department to another department where we feel like it's better suited by the department heads, right?
In order to manage a grant in the munis system, you have to have access to that grant. And it's basically just shifting the assignment of the grant funding from one department to another.
But there's nothing really that role that was approved by the council, then someone was hired for, nothing changed besides just shifting responsibility.
Basically, the office that person sits in. The role is the role, the job is the job.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Green.
Mr. Commissioner, so on that same line of questioning, you said this grant was originally approved by the council, is it last year?
I believe it was in July of last year.
July of last year? Okay, and that was for the 360, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What's the remaining balance on the grant?
I couldn't give you the remaining balance right now, Council. I'm happy to provide it to you tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't have it offhand.
Alrighty. So we are not transferring exactly 360,000 then? Is that the case?
That's fair. It's whatever was used when the initial applicant took the position, whatever her role cost for the time that she was in that role, and then I'm not 100% sure if the new person has started yet, but whatever has been drawn down from salaries.
Okay, alrighty. And the initial person who was hired for the position sat under your department and supervised by you or a member of your team?
That's correct.
Okay, and when did this person vacate?
When did the person vacate the role?
Leave the role, yeah.
I'm not super clear about when the role was vacated, to be honest with you. I could find that out though and get that to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Counselor, if I could just clarify, the request, and this is, at least in my experience, a rare request that I don't believe I've seen before. And the request is not to transfer the funds. When you vote to accept a grant, the way that works from an accounting perspective is a grant fund is created in our accounting system so that the grant, because it's outside the general fund, stands on its own as a separate entity, so to speak. And that is not changing with this request, that money will remain in that same grant fund. It was just based on the guidance and the request of the mayor, the agency or the office overseeing the grant changed. And I think he and I thought it was appropriate, because you were the body that approved it, that we would come and request permission and acknowledge publicly the desire to change the administration.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Counselor. Counselors, do we have a motion? Okay, motion was made and properly seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes.
Item number 15, resolve, whereas many communities, including the city of Brockton, are evaluating their current and projected needs for water resources, and whereas the Old Colony Planning Council created a report and analysis on water resiliency and intends to reconvene the committee which worked on this report. Now therefore be it resolved, Mary Waldron, Executive Director of the Old Colony Planning Council, and staff member Joanne Zigmont, who supervised the water resiliency study, be invited to appear before a committee of the council to discuss water resources, water production issues, and other environmental topics which may be of interest to the residents and businesses in the city. Invited Executive Director Mary Waldron, Joanne Zigmont, or their designees.
A motion to postpone to August to accommodate the schedule of the invited guests.
Second.
Counselors, motion properly made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Matters postponed.
Item number 16, resolved to invite Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer of the City of Brockton, to appear before the City Council, sitting as the Finance Committee, to discuss the city's capital policy, capital improvement budget policy, 6-year capital plan, all as set forth in the FY27 budget book, including without limitation the process followed to create the plan, and such other topics related to capital planning for the City of Brockton. Invited CFO Dr. Troy Clarkson.
Mr. CFO.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. I'm very pleased to be able to come before you and have a discussion about capital planning. And so I have provided you 3 documents, which I will describe briefly. And then we'll look forward to questions about the capital planning process. So the first document is a reprint of several pages from your current budget book. And so one of the requirements of the Government Finance Officers Association, the GFOA, is to have an extensive discussion and description of capital planning in the budget book. And so I have reprinted those pages for you. And I'll go through that in some more detail in a minute, but I wanted to describe the other 2 documents. As you all know, our capital planning was stunted in the wake of the school deficit. And our normal ability to invest in infrastructure was definitely impacted by that. However, we did, around that same time, have the significant benefit of significant award of funds under the American Rescue Plan Act, more commonly known as ARPA. And so this spreadsheet that I have provided to you is a very detailed description of how we invested those funds, both the $34 million that was a direct appropriation from the federal government and a little over $18 million from our partners at Plymouth County. So that $52 million, all of the projects in which we invested are seen here in this spreadsheet. And again, I'll get to that in a bit. The third document is prospective, and it's one that many of you hopefully have seen. But if not, this is a description of our capital plan, if you will, our financing plan for the city's largest and most ambitious capital project ever. And that is the $800 million renovation of our high school. And so I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about capital planning without at least having some discussion about what our plans are, both for investing in the high school and also having a discussion alongside that about how that impacts our ability to invest in other capital projects as we're doing the high school or after. So those are the three documents I'd like to discuss with you tonight. In the interest of time, I won't go into page-by-page detail on the capital plan from the budget book, but I will say, and I meant to get the citation for you, and I didn't, so I will give that to you after the meeting. But there actually is an ordinance in the city of Brockton that was passed some 25 or 30 years ago that actually deals with capital planning. And my belief is that the process outlined in that ordinance has never been followed. And it's something that actually, when I arrived, my team and I began to put together an actual capital plan as outlined in that ordinance. And I would love to come back and discuss that in more detail. Again, the circumstances of the last few years occurred. We actually have, what's in the budget book is reflective of that capital plan that we were putting together. But because of our financial constraints, frankly, a lot of what's in here is a wish list and not necessarily our planned investment in our city. So it is, I would say, a combined, the actual 6-year capital plan is we sought input from our departments and put this document together in response to that. However, our ability to actually fulfill all of these capital needs is not what we would hope it would be. So it is a requirement of the GFOA and it's in there. We are still working on a long-term financial plan to be able to make this kind of investment. But I think it's a good exercise nonetheless, because it gets our department heads thinking about what their capital needs are, and we fulfill them as we can. I think that's a good segue to the ARPA investment. I mean, these projects, many of them represented investments that the city wanted to make for years, in some cases decades, and we were unable to because of financial constraints, but we were able to invest significant amounts in our infrastructure. And you've heard this many times, but I think it bears repeating. Many communities used a lot of those federal funds through a process called revenue replacement to plug holes in their budgets. As I've said to you many times from this table, we made a very conscious decision not to do that. We did spend some money in revenue replacement, which was allowed under those ARPA rules, but I actually have a list here and I'll just share with you. It was everything from cybersecurity software to repairs to a fire station floor, to the purchase of a refuse truck and an animal control van, some police cruisers, new election tabulators. So again, even the money that that didn't fit within the four corners of allowed ARPA projects, the federal government provided flexibility through revenue replacement to use it for other things. And even those expenses were investment in capital items to improve the city and to invest in things that perhaps we otherwise would not be able to afford. So if you just look at this, and this is updated as of today, so lists all of our ARPA investments, some much more substantial than others, and some of them going back to several years ago. So that nonprofit investment was something that that we did during the pandemic to lift up nonprofit organizations in our communities. But you can see that the major expenditures were the investments in this building. In fact, the cool air that you're feeling right now is a direct result of the investment of those ARPA funds. Tonight, perhaps cooler than normal, but at least, but better than some others that we'd experienced before the project. And I'll list these quickly, but you know them all. So this City Hall project, the Council on Aging, renovation that was a fabulous success, the changes and upgrades to the War Memorial, the reconstruction of the Cosgrove Pool, and the investment in our parks and playgrounds. And so those capital investments were the major projects undertaken, but you can see there was many other things. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions you have on that. But that really was the focus of our capital investment over the last several years. We've been able to fund through some other financing and borrowing, or through the operating budget, other routine capital investments, such as some changes to Munis and, as always, police department vehicles. So we've worked really hard to keep our capital investment going alongside the ARPA investments. And finally, because it's been discussed so much, there's no, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, no larger project that the city has ever considered than the renovation of this high school. And the project team from Left Field and Principal McCaskill and the Superintendent Tahiliani have done a phenomenal job about speaking about the educational need and what the benefits of the project will be. So since this item is strictly on capital investment, I'll stick to the financing. But as you can see before you, we have set the city up for success with this project. What the project management team has said, and what they have said correctly, is that in most communities that consider this sort of investment, it is a long-term investment for 20 or 30 years. And usually those impacts on an annual basis for the average taxpayer are well over $1,000 a year. I remember distinctly when I sat here in this room and asked you to approve the issuance of the first round of the pension bonds. I believe it was Councilor Thompson that asked me if the issuance of the pension debt would preclude our ability to build the high school. And what I said at that time, and what I'm happy to repeat now, is that the issuance of the pension debt is enabling us to build this high school. It was that kind of financial planning that we brought to you and that you approved that is putting us in a very rare situation of being able to build an $800 million high school with a minimal impact on the taxpayers. And I know you've heard this story, but I'm going to repeat it again just for this capital discussion. When that debt from the pension bond retires in 2036, there'll be a significant drop-off in our bonded indebtedness. And our intent is to use that window of opportunity to then invest that money in the high school with no additional impact on the taxpayers. That's reflected on the second page of this in this colored graph that I showed you. And so the blue lines represent our current debt service, and you can see the drop off. The yellow lines represent the debt for the high school. The only additional support we're seeking from the taxpayers is, we can call it bridge financing between now and that debt drop off that will get us to the point where we have that drop off. One of the questions that's been asked is, if we spend all this money on the high school, will that preclude us from being able to invest in other things, other schools, other municipal buildings? The answer is no. As you can see, there's a huge difference starting in 2037 between what we spend right now today in the FY27 budget on debt service and what we will spend in 2037, including the debt for the high school and all of our other debt. So we can spend the same amount that we're spending now and still have the ability to invest in other capital projects without asking the taxpayers for an additional burden. So I submit to you that our ability to afford this project is a direct result of the planning and coordination that we as a group did back 5 years ago. and it's bearing fruit now, and the beneficiaries will be the students, but also the taxpayers of the city of Brockton. So with that overview of our capital planning over the last several years, I welcome your thoughts and your questions.
Thank you. Councilor Charnel, followed by Councilor Castro.
Thank you, CFO. So in regards to servicing the high school's debt service, this $62 million is, I'm assuming some of this is interest expense that rolls into some debt, or?
Virtually, yes. Great question. Virtually all of it is interest expense. And so how this plan works is that we are allowed, under current law, to issue temporary debt notes, we call them, bond anticipation notes, for up to 10 years. And so our cash flow needs are starting now for this project and will continue. And so our plan is to roll that debt over until the pension debt retires, and then issue the full permanent debt where we'll be paying principal and interest once that drop off, or what I call the window of opportunity, occurs. And so that's why there's different colors on this graph. And for members of the public watching, we can make this available. This has been passed out at the community forums that have been had. I've attended, I believe, all three of them. But the gold colored bars are those interest costs, Counselor. And then it changes to yellow for a reason. So that represents the permanent debt. And by the way, although it looks like a simple chart, was developed by a team, including our project professionals from left field, who actually developed detailed cash flows. And so it represents what the cash flow needs are going to be for construction. And then our finance advisors from Hilltop and our bond underwriters from Stiefel, and even our bond counsel have all seen this and collaborated on this. It's actually the same team we put together for the pension bond project. And so we've worked together as a team for many years because it was important, I think, for credibility's sake, that the thought behind this was a real collaborative effort of finance professionals that all of us, like we did, for those of you that were on the council back in 2020 and 2021, there was a team of 10 professionals that sat behind me on these benches to lend their support for that project. And those same people are on board and have collaborated on this.
Thank you. I can't take credit for that. I wasn't here, so, but in regards to we're speaking a lot about the actual project. Can you speak to, like, just the public, just the economic engine that a project like this does to a community like ours? And what I mean is, you know, obviously jobs, we're creating infrastructure, we're creating, you know, different sources of revenue in different areas. Can you speak to a little bit of that, just so, because I think, you know, I don't want the public to just think that we're just asking for money just to build a high school, but this is more than just a high school. You know, this is a vibrant thing that has uplifted many communities when they develop these type of projects. So if you can just speak just real briefly, just real quick, how some of the other communities have thrived in their development of their schools.
Certainly. I can speak broadly to my experience with this sort of investment in a community, not $800 million, but this would be even more stark and I think helpful. And so in my experience, this sort of investment is contagious. And when communities are willing to invest in their community, in the infrastructure and in its future, that grows confidence, and you see private investment increasing. I can go back 30 years when I was on the select board in Falmouth, and we invested back then $3 million in the downtown, which was a lot of money back then. I suppose it's a lot of money today. And that has created 3 decades of private investment in that downtown. This project, as you all know, is located in a critical area for development and for investment. And so not only will the project see money invested, and I'm not a project professional, but I do know, having some experience, certainly with school buildings, that there will be opportunities for local people and jobs and subcontractors. And when there's that much money being invested and that many people on site working, there are ancillary benefits to the economy for restaurants and places where people shop. And so the ripples from that kind of investment in the community are significant, and they will be sustained over a period of many years.
And also, Mr. CFO, I'm assuming that that values will continue to take off like they have. I mean, Council Farwell always says that our own success actually kills us in this community because, of what the city has built. Just in regards to just the tax burden to the taxpayers, we're assuming just a 10-year lift on that for the tax burden. Is that still true, or is that?
Yes, if you look at the first page of this packet that I provided to you. Now, these are estimates, and it's really important to qualify that, but there's a lot of thought behind this. And so this is based on, for last fiscal year, FY26, an average single-family home of $480,000, which is the average, not the mean, right? But it's the average homeowner in Brockton. The burden on them will be, if you look in column F, that's the estimated actual dollar impact of this project for that finite period. And the reason why it stops is because that amount that we're asking coincides with the debt drop-off. And so it's important to note, and this is something that Kevin Sullivan from Left Field has stated, he has provided a very helpful spreadsheet at the community forums that show at least a dozen other projects and what the commitment from the taxpayers has been on those projects. $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a year for 20 years. And so again, this was very cautious planning, a planning process in which you joined when you approved the pension debt, because the design all along was to minimize the actual dollar impact on Brockton taxpayers. So this, and I mean this, don't take my word for it. Take this out and share it with your colleagues that sit on legislative bodies throughout the Commonwealth. It is extraordinary. I won't use the word unique. I think that word is overused. It's not probably maybe the only one, but it is rare that a project of this size has this minimal impact on taxpayers.
And just lastly, I'll just add that, it takes a while for the planning of a high school, obviously, and then it takes a while for being accepted into this particular round of funding with the state agency. Communities have been waiting years to even be accepted. So I think that what you're saying that is, time is of the essence, and we can make it work within our current debt structure. So, and I would add, just in my knowledge and wisdom, is if we wait to do this, the only thing that's going to happen is construction costs is just going to go up, and it's going to implode, and it's going to be 10 times probably more expensive for us to do a project 10 years from now than it is today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Nicastro, followed by Councilor Farwell.
Good evening, Mr. Clarkson. Thank you for being here, and thank you for preparing for this resolve. I sponsored it because I received a call from a constituent, actually city resident, asking about the capital budget and the capital policy. And I have to admit that when I prepare for our budget hearings, if I get back to that part of the budget book once, I'm lucky. But I spent some time after I received the questions and answered his questions as best I could. And he sent me another question to ask you this evening. He wants me to ask how residents and other city stakeholders can impact this 6-year capital plan.
That's a great question. I think there's several different ways. I am always available to meet individually with taxpayers and constituents that have questions. I have many times over the years hosted either individuals or groups of people that were interested in our spending. So certainly that sort of one-on-one feedback is possible. I think attendance at your meetings, particularly the Finance Committee meetings, is always welcome. You know, there are some communities, and I've done a little research on this, that actually solicit input from the public on a portion of capital funds and ask them to provide feedback. In the past, in other communities where I've worked, I've actually sent out surveys to ask the public what's important for them to invest in. So this is one of those areas where we're really only limited by our imaginations. And in a community this size, it is difficult sometimes to gauge public opinion and what's important to them. So I think the degree to which we can reach out and seek their input is really important.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Farwell, followed by Counselor Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Enterprise News keeps publishing, Dr. Claxton, that if the debt exclusion vote passes, the average homeowner will pay $188 a year over a 10-year period. But in fact, what you handed out tonight indicates that that might be true in the first 5 years, but eventually you get up to 276, 321, and then 335 a year for a $450,000. Did you say 450 or 460? What was the value of the house that you used?
487.25.
487.25. I would submit to you that for many people, and especially businesses, it is going to be more costly than that. The other thing that I don't understand is that in other communities, when they've done a debt exclusion, the ballot question is, shall the town or city be allowed to assess, I'll use Amherst, $1.01 more per thousand valuation for the purposes of, in our case, it would be a new high school. Do you have that dollar figure yet that's going to appear in the ballot? Do you know what it is? Or isn't all of this calculation dependent upon A, what the project is going to cost, and B, what is SBAB going to give us? So we really don't know that yet, do we?
No, that's a really important point. We don't know that for sure. And whenever I discuss this publicly or privately, I qualify that these are estimates, but the deeper we get into the project, the better the estimates get. The interesting thing about the question for the ballot is actually the language for a debt exclusion question is prescribed by statute.
Yes, it is.
And unless there's been some changes, I believe that the language is pretty clear, and the statutory guidance provides that there not be specific numbers in that, and it's usually just, shall the voters exclude by Proposition 2.5 so-called for the purposes of constructing a high school, period. Now, I know many communities add to that, and in an attempt to be more descriptive and transparent, get specific about the numbers. We're several months away from drafting a ballot question, and And so I think there'll be lots more public discussion about that language. But you are absolutely correct. It's wholly dependent on the total cost of the project right now. And I should mention the MSBA, the Mass School Building Authority, have been extraordinary partners. The school building committee meetings, which by the way are open to the public and available on Zoom. The MSB has been extraordinary, and we estimate right now that they will participate up to 80%, which is another reason why, we hear an $800 million project, but the city's share we expect to be much, much lower than that. So the project manager, Left Field, I think has a very, very robust community outreach program that they're right in the middle of. They are very present in the city. I will keep you informed as the process for getting something on the ballot continues. Nothing certain, but right now, somewhere shortly after the first of the calendar year is what's expected. And so those discussions will continue in the community to get us to a point where we're asking for a debt exclusion.
All right, well, I want to refocus and be more direct. In my opinion, as a voter and a resident, and representing the interests of the city, I don't want an open-ended ballot question. If I can't have my constituents and voters go in and find out that if they vote for this, their valuation per thousand is going to increase by a specific number, you'd almost have to be mad to vote for an open-ended debt exclusion, because that would give the right to the city or the powers that be the opportunity to go forward and assign any type of an amount to the debt exclusion. And I strongly urge, and I say to my colleagues, listen, we've got to be honest with the people. We're asking them to give up more of their hard-earned money and to increase their taxes for a very good purpose. I do not disagree that this is a wonderful, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But the importance is to be, and I hate the word transparent, honest, direct. Tell them exactly, if you own a $500,000 house and your taxes are gonna go up $1 per thousand, then it's gonna be $500. I mean, I just think we owe people that. So it'll be interesting how this comes out. So basically, the first 10 years, we borrow 62, 643, 689, and then after that, the city's regular debt service would take over payments.
Correct.
Okay, now, here's my, and we have to discuss this. We've got to have this come to reality meeting. You and I know we have a structural deficit in this city. We do not exist without state aid and federal aid. We have no idea what the city's budget will be in year 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So to say that we're all set, we're going to do the first 10 years, but then don't worry about the 11th through the next 11 or 10 or 15 years. I don't know what the city budget will be. I don't know what state aid will be. And so I'm concerned with a forecast of what this is going to cost where there are so many unknowns. And I don't know if you can even respond to that, but it would just seem to me that we should determine what is the city going to have to pay for this project, and then go back to the drawing board and decide how we're going to pay for it. Because otherwise, we are mortgaging the future. If you assign your revenues coming in on an annual basis to debt service, you've precluded using those revenues for other important purposes. We haven't talked about middle schools. We haven't talked about infrastructure. We haven't talked about roads. We haven't talked about other municipal buildings that may need work. And so this plan is certainly workable. I don't discount for a moment that someone has done a lot of work on it and that it could work, but it is predicated on so many unknowns. The other unknown that I don't have is on an $800 million project, if you're 5% over budget, that's $40 million. Who comes up with the 40 million? Or if there are change orders. And by the way, the school committee, let's get it out there. The school committee is in charge of this project. SBAB gives the money to the school committee. Am I correct?
No, that is not correct.
All right, where does it go then?
The project is managed by the school building committee, the chair of which, and under the statute, essentially the person in charge of this project is called the eligible applicant under the statute, under the school building statute. In this case, and in this city, the eligible applicant is the mayor. So there is tremendous input and collaboration, by the way, from the schools, but from a financial standpoint, the funds are under the custody and responsibility of the city. And if I might just quickly address the issues you raised, you're absolutely correct. This is based on our current general fund within the levy limit spending on debt. And so we have, for this year, an amount we're spending on debt, and we have programmed in what that is anticipated to be over the next several years until 2037. And in 2037, our general fund spending on debt plummets, providing this opportunity. And so we are trying, separate from that, and putting together a long-term financial plan for the entirety to try to answer some of those questions, because it's the right thing to do on all of the other unknowns that we have. But I think addressing the issue you raised, Councilor, about other projects and investing in other school buildings or in other municipal buildings or other municipal projects, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, one I think of the real positive aspects of this plan that we've put together is that keeping our spending on debt level and not increasing it at all, even with all of that debt for the high school, that gap between the top of the blue bar and those yellow bars, and it does reduce as time goes on, is an opportunity to either spend cash on other projects or take on additional debt for other projects, or if necessary, use those funds for other general fund purposes. And so I think that's why I think this is such a fiscally responsible plan, because it charts a course for investment in the future without asking the taxpayers to dip into their pockets for a lot more money.
Do you know of any other municipality?
Councilor Farwell, councilors, just in the interest of time, I understand that the school construction is part of the 6-year capital plan and a major part of our financial future. But if we want to get super deep into the weeds on the construction of the school, it may behoove us to have a resolve specifically for the school. That way, that may prepare the CFO to bring in some of the other people on the project and provide more data for the council.
I have no objection to that. I think the more information we get out to the public on this, the better. And perhaps we'll file a resolve, someone can file a resolve when we know more from SBAB and the cost of the project. Because that's really that's the whole ballgame. What is the final cost and how much will SBAB cover? So if you wish to limit debate, that's fine. I'll conclude.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Green.
Dr. Clarkson, I do have some additional questions on this. On this, but I'll just email those to you separately. On the capital plan, in light of all that you've presented relative to the construction of the new high school, when do you anticipate the other city would be in a position to kind of resume these capital projects and moving forward with actionable steps and funding these capital projects again. If I recall correctly, at the beginning of your opening comments, you said that we're at a standstill. Those weren't the words you used, but we're kind of at a standstill because of the deficit that the city had to cure from the school department. So when do you anticipate that we'll be able to continue with this these capital plans?
So I think the answer is now. We have been able to, despite the challenges post-deficit, to even outside of ARPA. So I think the word I used was stunted, and so our ability to invest was less significant, less robust. But for instance, we were able, with the cooperation of the council, to add a line in the fire department budget for capital. And so then that was to buy some equipment. And once that debt is paid off, that line will exist within the fire department to then re-up and invest some more money. Just today, I had a discussion with Paul Engel at the library about a potential $4 million project to invest in the kind of work that we did in this building and upgrade the HVAC through our energy services contract with Amoresco. And we're not ready to file anything, but just as an example, that $4 million, the plan right now, again, we're a ways away from filing it, but to demonstrate to you, we're constantly working on finding ways to invest capital. The library gets between $300,000 and $400,000 a year from the state in specific state aid just for libraries. So I had a conversation with the Department of Revenue today about earmarking that for debt service to be able to invest in the library building itself. And so on your next finance committee agenda, there'll be $1,031,000 that was an earmark from the federal government for investment in public safety. And so police equipment, police vehicles, some fire equipment. And so we're constantly looking for ways, particularly through our grants team, to obtain funds outside of our general fund budget so that we can keep that capital investment up. And despite the challenges of the last few years, I think we've done a pretty good job of that.
Okay, all right. Could you just share with us a little bit, and I think you mentioned this earlier, in regards to community engagement in the capital process. I think it's Councilor Nicastro who asked on the behalf of her constituent, how can they get involved in this process? Could you just briefly share with us how departments per se contribute to this process, how they kind of compete, if you will, for limited capital funding, and what are ways and opportunities, again, which I think is important for the community to know, what are ways for the community to be more engaged in this process, because so many of these capital projects affect our way of life, our communities, and services rendered through the city.
I think we can always do more to engage the public and seek their input, particularly today when it's become more difficult than ever to gauge public sentiment because the information comes from so many different sources. It's a challenge. But as I mentioned to Councilor Nicastro, I welcome ideas on how we could do a better job at that, whether that's through having some community forums where we solicit input. As I mentioned in the past, I've sent out surveys. We seek the input of departments when we're putting together the capital plan, but I have big relationships with department heads where, oh, thank you, where they'll come in on a regular basis and say, we need to do X with for our department, and the need is urgent. Can we find a way to make it work? You know what, the tabulation machines that we used that revenue replacement money for is a good one. You know, Cindy came to me and said, we need to replace these, they're old, can we do something? And so there's, I think, lots of informal engagement with the city staff in that respect. But I, sitting here, will say to the public, we welcome their input and their engagement and their thoughts on how best to invest city funds.
Okay, thank you. What do you identify as some of the major risk for fulfilling these capital projects, and how can we begin the process of formulating a plan, or what have been done to formulate a plan to mitigate those risks? Perhaps.
No, it's a great question. I want your colleagues to know that's not a plant, because that's a great segue. It's something I have not yet told you. I've been working on a state of the city finances project, a comprehensive briefing for you and for the public, of course, because we know that in a highly charged political environment, there's lots of rhetoric, lots of speculation about the state of the city's finances. So I've actually been working on a comprehensive document that's approachable and understandable, even for those folks that aren't involved in finances on a daily basis, that talks about our challenges. I've been very open and very honest with this council and with the public about our struggles. I think I used the term duct tape and baling wire not too long ago. We have faced significant challenges over the last several years, but you know what? We have fought through them, we have worked together, and we've persevered, and it hasn't been easy. It's been the toughest 3 or 4 budget years of my career, but we've made it. And I believe, working together, we will continue to make it. And so it's really important, I think, that we have sort of a state of where we're at, how we're looking. It's going to continue to be a challenge. FY28 is going to be an even greater challenge than FY27 was, because of how we've had to increase our revenues to meet our revenue estimates, to actually meet our spending requirements, which has reduced our free cash. By the way, this problem is not unique to Brockton. If you look around Eastern Massachusetts and indeed the Commonwealth, the challenge of increasing pension and health care and wage costs and the constraints of taxation that only increases 2.5% a year has created a clash that is plaguing many communities. I'm very proud of how Brockton has responded to that and been able to balance its budget. But I think my responsibility, and I would suggest yours, goes deeper than that. And so I'm hopeful to come back soon and provide a comprehensive overview of where I think we're at and where we're headed in the next few years. And I think that juxtaposes nicely with some of the concerns that Councilor Farwell raised. It's certainly nice to be able to look at affording a capital project, but we need to continue to survive on an annual basis to fund police, fire, public works, public education. And so I'm hopeful in the not too distant future to be able to come to you and have that conversation.
Well, I look forward to that. I think that will be very helpful, and I look forward to that document to be able to share with the other public as well. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Councilors, do I have a motion?
Motion to recommend favorably.
Motion's been properly made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you.
Councilors, that is the end of our agenda. Are there any moments of personal privilege? Councilor Azak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of announcements. The first one, Pastor Jill Wiley of First Lutheran Church passed away on July 15th. Pastor Wiley was very involved in our Brockton community, and I just wanted to let anyone who's interested in a celebration of her life will be happening this Saturday, July 25th at 11 a.m. at the First Lutheran Church located at 900 Main Street in Brockton. May she rest in peace, and our sympathy goes out to her family. The other announcement is that we have an ordinance meeting scheduled for tomorrow, Tuesday, July 21st at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. May the pastor rest in peace. Any other counselors? Counselor Charnel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few announcements. These are online, but the Brockton Fire Department has a prevention safety education that is going to be on Saturday, October the 10th. That's actually far away. Oops. But they also have on August 18th a informational recruiting on August 18th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. So if you're interested in becoming a firefighter, I would look into that. Also, there are some TPS-related forums going around. There's one that's going to be hosted in the Randolph on the 25th at the, I believe, the First Jerusalem Church on Main Street. And again, this just gives the, surrounding community just the opportunity to get information. As we know, TPS is real. The information out there there's a slight extension, but it is coming to an end. So I'll be filing a resolve for a member of the community to come and speak about some of these ends and how they will impact and affect residents that will no longer have status. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? Seeing none, we are adjourned.